Imagine you're the captain of a world-class destroyer. You're entering the Miyako Strait, feeling invincible behind billion-dollar sensors. Suddenly, a projectile slams into your hull at Mach 6. No warning. No heat signature for your sensors to track. And the slug that just crippled your ship. It costs less than a family SUV. It's Japan's new reality. While the world watched China build a massive 370-ship navy, Tokyo was quietly perfecting the impossible weapon. On the test ship JS Asuka, Japan just did what the US Navy couldn't. They took the railgun to sea and proved it works. We're talking Mach 6.5 velocity, 120 consecutive rounds, and 0 gunpowder. Beijing is shocked, because the math of the Pacific just changed. For the price of one single interceptor missile, Japan can now fire 100 hypersonic slugs that can't be jammed or outrun. The age of electromagnetic warfare isn't coming. It's already here. Japan's railgun fleet is real. While the world was distracted by carrier-killer missiles and stealth fighters, Japan was quietly shifting its entire naval strategy. This isn't just a science project anymore. It's a massive industrial mobilization. In 2022, Japan's Acquisition, Technology and Logistics Agency, ATLA, stopped testing and started building, awarding a 6.5 billion yen contract to Japan Steelworks to turn their prototype into a battlefield-ready weapon system. By the 2024 budget, that investment grew into a dedicated line item specifically for high-rate hypersonic railguns. But how do you fit a weapon that requires tens of megawatts of pulsed power onto a ship without it sinking or catching fire? Japan's engineers came up with a modular solution that is as brilliant as it is terrifying for their adversaries. During the 2023 sea trials on the 6,200-ton experimental ship JS Asuka, they didn't tear the ship apart to install batteries. Instead, they loaded 4 20-foot ISO shipping containers onto the deck. These power banks house the massive capacitor farms and cooling systems needed to fire the gun. This modularity is the key to Japan's 2030 plan. Tokyo isn't just building one super ship. They are designing a networked fleet where at least 10 destroyers, including the next generation 13 DDX, will be railgun ready. The centerpiece of this fleet will be 2 massive 20,000-ton Aegis system-equipped vessels, AS-EVE. These aren't just ships. They are floating power stations costing $1.5 billion each, designed to act as the energy hubs for the entire task force, recharging the capacitor modules of escorting railgun ships in the middle of the ocean. The results of the JS Asuka tests have changed the math of war in the Pacific. Japan's railgun successfully fired over 120 consecutive rounds at Mach 6.5 without the barrel melting, a feat the US Navy never managed to achieve. Each of those 40mm steel slugs cost roughly 5 million yen, or about $35,000. Think about that for a second. If China launches a saturation attack with dozens of $2 million hypersonic missiles, Japan doesn't need to exhaust its limited supply of expensive interceptors. They can simply fire a kinetic wall of steel slugs that cost 1/60th the price of the incoming threat. Japan has fundamentally solved the saturation denial problem. They can now afford to shoot down everything China throws at them, while Beijing goes broke trying to keep up. Why Japan succeeded where everyone else failed? For years, the railgun was considered cursed technology. The US Navy poured $500 million and over a decade of research into their own version, only to walk away in 2021. The problem wasn't the speed, it was the physics of the barrel itself. When you fire a projectile at Mach 7 using millions of amps of electricity, the heat and friction are so intense they essentially liquefy the inside of the gun. American prototypes were burning out after fewer than 50 shots, making them useless for a sustained sea battle. But Japan solved the barrel burnout problem through superior metallurgy and a clever shift in design. Instead of chasing a massive one-size-fits-all cannon, Japan's Acquisition, Technology and Logistics Agency, ATLA, focused on a 40mm medium-caliber system. By switching from traditional copper rails to specialized high-resilience alloys and refining how the electricity pulses through the gun, they achieved a breakthrough. Over 120 consecutive rounds with no significant damage to the barrel. By 2025, they pushed that limit even further, demonstrating a barrel life exceeding 200 rounds. There is also a hidden tactical advantage to Japan's kinetic slugs over the flashy laser weapons Beijing is currently touting. While lasers look impressive in promotional videos, they are notoriously fragile. A bit of sea mist, heavy rain, or even smoke on the battlefield can scatter a laser beam, rendering it useless. Japan's railgun doesn't care about the weather. A Mach 6.5 steel slug has so much kinetic energy that it punches right through fog, storms, and physical countermeasures. The scale of this power is hard to grasp. Even though the projectiles are dumb slugs, meaning they have no explosives, the sheer velocity of 2,300 meters per second turns a small piece of metal into a hypersonic wrecking ball. In 2025 trials, Japan proved these aren't just straight-line weapons. They successfully scored multiple hits on moving target ships, confirming that their fire control systems can track and kill fast-moving threats at a range of up to 200 kilometers. While the US struggled with the massive 25-megawatt power requirement that their existing destroyers couldn't handle, Japan engineered a modular solution. By using containerized capacitor farms and a hybrid power system, they've made the railgun plug-and-play. This means Japan built a sustainable, repeatable, and weatherproof system that can outlast any missile volley or laser battery in the Pacific. The full hyperdefense network. The most dangerous thing about Japan's railgun isn't just the gun itself, it's what is backing it up. Tokyo is building what military analysts call a hyperdefense network, a multi-layered shield that combines the speed of electromagnetic slugs with the stealth of next-generation ninja drones and the sheer power of massive 20,000-ton command ships. At the center of this web are the Aegis system-equipped vessels, ASEV. These are absolute behemoths. At 20,000 tons, they are nearly twice the size of a standard US destroyer. These aren't just warships, they are floating power plants, designed to act as the energy hubs for the entire fleet. While a standard ship might run out of power after a few railgun salvos, the ASEVs are built with massive excess capacity to recharge the modular capacitor banks of every other ship in the task force. But while the railguns handle the kinetic kills within a 200-kilometer range, Japan is also deploying the upgraded Type 12 standoff missile. This isn't your average cruise missile. This version is stealthy, travels at Mach 5.5, and has a range of over 1,000 kilometers. The strategy is simple. The Type 12s strike the enemy's carriers from over the horizon, while the railguns create a no-fly zone for anything that tries to retaliate. The real shadow war happens underwater. Japan is currently developing ninja drones, automated underwater vehicles, AUVs, that can dive deep and lurk silently for up to 30 days. Costing only $5 million each, these deep dive hunters act as the forward eyes of the railgun ships, feeding real-time targeting data through the QZISS satellite network to the surface fleet. This is the shattered map scenario Beijing is worried about. By 2030, a Chinese task force won't just be facing ships, they'll be walking into a synchronized trap. A fleet of 13 DDX next-generation destroyers, specifically designed to house both railguns and high-energy lasers, will work in a networked bubble. The math is brutal. The outer layer uses railguns to pick off missiles and drones at 100 to 200 kilometers for $35,000 a shot. The mid-layer uses the Type 12 and SM-6 missiles to intercept high-value targets. The inner layer uses high-power lasers for point defense, cleaning up whatever is left. For the first time in history, the Defender has the economic and technological advantage. In the next decade, the Pacific won't just be a contested ocean, it will be a kinetic wall. China's problem. While Beijing has been fast-tracking its own advanced weaponry, Japan's railgun success has exposed a massive vulnerability in the Chinese naval doctrine. For years, China has paraded its own wonder weapons, specifically high-powered laser systems like the LY-1, which was featured heavily in their 2025 military parades. On paper, these lasers look like the ultimate defense, intercepting threats at the speed of light. But there's a catch that Chinese state media won't tell you. Lasers are notoriously fragile. In the humid, salt-heavy environment of the South China Sea, laser beams suffer from thermal blooming. They lose focus and power as they hit sea mist and haze. Furthermore, while China has shown the LY-1 on land-based trucks, there have been 0 confirmed sea trials and 0 confirmed hits on high-speed targets at sea. Japan, meanwhile, has already confirmed multiple high-velocity hits from the JS Asuka. Then there is the math of war, a calculation that currently looks like a nightmare for the People's Liberation Army Navy. To defend their fleet, China relies on massive interceptor missiles to stop incoming threats. Intercepting a hypersonic target currently requires high-end missiles, like the DF-17 or DF-26 variants, which can cost anywhere from $10 million to $15 million per shot. Now, look at the ratio math. Japan's railgun slugs cost roughly $35,000, 5 million yen each. If China launches a massive saturation volley, costing $250 million in high-end missiles, Japan can effectively neutralize that entire attack for about $500,000 in kinetic slugs. This isn't just a technological gap, it's an economic one. Japan is essentially creating denial zones across the Miyako Strait and the East China Sea. Every time a Chinese Type 055 destroyer enters these waters, it is entering a zone where Japan can afford to fire 100 times more shots than China can afford to intercept. Instead of the South China Sea becoming a safe lake for Chinese dominance, it is becoming a high-risk kill box, where the defender holds all the economic and kinetic cards. The message from Tokyo is clear. The age of gunpowder and expensive missile trades is coming to an end. The age of electromagnetic warfare is officially here. You want to see it? Hit subscribe and drop a like if you want to stay updated on the next phase of the Pacific Shadow War.